My name is Martin Kirsch. I'm the Executive Director of the Food Service Packaging Association. It's a real pleasure to invite you this afternoon. You may recall the big plastics debate over the last few years. Anybody ever attend one of the big plastics debates? What loyal people you are, thank you. Well, this has now become the big carbon debate for reasons I will tell you in a moment. But just to say, it's a 2-afternoon program. So tomorrow there is a lot of great stuff happening. You'll be able to hear the minister, Rebecca Powell, the minister at DEFRA. And then we have a real live debate. Proposers and seconders for and against. And that is lively, it'll be very civilized, and it'll be great fun. I hope you can make it to that. Worth staying overnight, if only just for that. This afternoon, I should have been welcoming Haulwen Nicholas to talk about Ceflex, which is a really important initiative. It stands for the Circular Economy for Flexible Packaging. However, where Haulwen lives, and this is the other side of DEFRA, is completely flooded. She cannot get out, so she has delivered to us, by the miracle of email, you'll be pleased to know she has recorded it. So that is something we're going to have in a minute, but it's a very important talk, which is excellent. Following which, we have the Pact Challenge. That took 25 entries and has whittled them down to 5. You are going to hear presentations from those 5 entries. They have got to convince us, judges, and you that they are worthy to win it. And you'll be able to ask them questions and hear what they've got to say. It's a real pitch. It's down to them to make it. And then we have an absolutely brilliant debate taking place. We've got 5 amazing speakers from Coca-Cola, from the Waste Resource Action Program RAP, from the charity Hubbub, from the Green Alliance, and of course from the OPRL, the On-Pack Recycling Label, and you'll hear more about that this afternoon. Now, for those of you who are big debate groupies, may I just say, I always say, what has happened since the last time we met? Is anybody aware there have been 4 major consultations on packaging? Hands up if you are aware of that. That is great, so we're getting awareness. How many people, hands up for those who either responded themselves or their businesses responded? Okay, not bad. I would like to see, next time we have this, for the next round of consultations, every hand. And the reason I say that, there is it ranges, talk about £4 billion coming out of this whole system. I would think you need to have your say. If you want to get something back for your money, your hard-earned money which is coming off your bottom line, then I would advise you to make sure you are aware of what's going on, make sure you respond to the consultations and keep in touch. And if you need any links or anything, I'm happy to send you them because it's really vital. I say that we're a trade association and we count, if you like, as 1 vote versus the same as an individual. We don't get any more leeway on that. So that is very important. Now, those consultations are going to be going to a second stage of consultations, would have happened now. For those of you really in tune, you will know there is a second reading of the environmental bill taking place tomorrow. So they should have happened by now. The election came, changes at DEFRA, that has been put back to what is known as late summer. DEFRA's late summer, given their deal with floods, I don't know when that is. So we'll have to make sure I think it will be, I don't know, it could be September time. A few of us in the room I'm looking at one now, are on various governance groups regarding regarding these four potential pieces of legislation. I think it's very important that we are made known and you know who the other ones are, so you do keep in contact and get your views known to them as well. So we've got that. We've got the potential still, and I will say it because it's important, we have a new Chancellor. We have the potential for cup chargers. And as I always say, once you start with cups, it then goes into other things as well. This would be levies. This could be a possibility. The last Chancellor, the last time, Philip Hammond, well, I say not the last, the second last Chancellor, I should say, he decided it wasn't a good idea for the moment, and that we needed to wait and look at see what the industry was doing. So that is a possibility coming up in only a few weeks' time. The Single-Use Plastics Directive is from Europe, which will lead to bans of certain items and restrictions. Each country will be asked to reduce the amount of certain types of name packaging in circulation. We have this global move against plastics. I'm sure you get the notifications which are resulting in bans in certain countries. We have a new minister, you'll hear tomorrow, Rebecca Powell. Very interesting. We also have a new Secretary of State, George Eustace, and may I say the job is well deserved. He has been a minister in that department for a long time. Mentioned the Environment Bill tomorrow, second reading. That will get quite a big PR. I think the biggest development has been that people are since even the last time we met, people are talking much more about carbon, net zero. And suddenly net zero means something. That is a really big development. It's something the industry has been saying for a long time, but the public have not been talking about it enough, nor politicians. Now everybody is. And it's interesting because we have invited Extinction Rebellion to our seminar, and that has opened up a great dialogue, and I'm glad we did, and we're probably the first trade association to do so. And we came to a very important conclusion, that when it comes to carbon and carbon reduction, everybody in this exhibition, everybody in this area, everybody in the world, in one way or another, it's our responsibility. We are contributors to the problem. And I say everywhere in the world, but certainly in the developed world, you could argue, and it came up in a very excellent conference I attended only yesterday, that it came up then that maybe we are buying too much, because a lot of this is the result of our own consumption. So here are some very interesting issues. I also should mention the knee-jerk response to plastics. And suddenly we're now getting articles saying, well, hang on, what you've replaced with that plastic with, maybe that isn't such a brilliant thing. And so maybe there are other consequences, one of them being food waste being the enemy. All of that makes the next 2 afternoons incredibly important. There's a lot of great debate, so please be here. As I keep saying, if you want to take a sit on the floor, you're very welcome. Don't hold back. Thank you. Right. I would have been about to introduce Haulwen Nicholas, who is defined here as a Workstream Consultant for Ceflex. That doesn't do half of justice to what Haulwen is about. So many people know her. I've known her since her days at Muller Dairy, when it was all about yogurt pots. She is an outstanding individual. She's winner of the UK Packaging Awards, Outstanding Contribution to Industry Award, which she picked up in 2017. She's an ambassador for Psychology's magazine, which came as that one I was surprised. She's a specialist in coaching and training, particularly in packaging. She has formed a packaging academy, set up a course at, I think it was the University of Chester, and she also has something called Haulwen Limited, which also provides training advice. She is excellent. So I said before, we're going to get a video. I hope there's lots of volume so everyone can hear. Let's watch the video. Thank you.
Hello there, my name is Haulwen Nicholas and I am a Workstream Consultant for Ceflex. I apologise that I'm not able to be with you today. Unfortunately, the flooding at Shrewsbury has prevented me from getting to you. But if you do have any questions, feel free to email me. My contact details are on the presentation. Today, I'm going to give you an update on what we're doing at Ceflex right through the value chain regarding flexible films. So thank you for listening. So what is Ceflex and what is Mission Circular? Well, Ceflex is about collaborating as the whole flexible packaging value chain, and we aim to make all flexible packaging in Europe circular by 2025. Now, this is where we believe that Ceflex is different in the fact that we do include the whole packaging value chain, and we'll talk more about this in the coming slides. So Ceflex is all about collaboration. It's an initiative of a European consortium of companies, organisations and associations representing the entire value chain for all flexible packaging. It's about looking at designing and advancing better system solutions, further enhancing the performance of flexible packaging in the circular economy, and looking at that whole value chain of flexible packaging to make it circular going forward. Ceflex is made up of over 150 companies, organisations and associations. This includes polyolefin producers, and we have 4 of the top 6 global manufacturers within Ceflex. 80% of the EU film producers and converters are actually involved in this initiative, and we have global FMCG companies, 4 of the top 5. But the difference about Ceflex is we actually look at the whole value chain, so many of the world's leading waste management companies, technology and equipment providers are also included. And when you look at this as a value chain, it's quite unique because it means that we're able to pull people in and across the chain to take learnings so that we can actually produce and make a circular future for flexible films. So our mission: collection of all flexible packaging with over 80% of materials being returned to the economy and used to replace virgin or recycled materials. And this is our 2025 target, so really it's not that far away. And one of the things that we're really doing as Ceflex is we want to be an action tank and a think tank and actually stop just talking and actually do something. So the aim really is for all flexible packaging designed so that after use it can be collected, sorted and recycled. And this is looking at what's compatible with existing collection, sorting and recycling infrastructures, but also look at what can be developed for the future. But the other thing that's really, really key is ensuring that we have the sustainable end markets for the recycled materials, because without those, without an end market for these materials to go into, then there's no point in us collecting these materials in the first place. So Mission Circular is about collaboration and action. It's about involving every aspect of the value chain, from the secondary raw material suppliers, into production, consumption and waste management, and then looking at how that interlinks with sorting, end markets, design and collection. And this is the only way we can make the circular economy of flexible packaging circular. So how are we doing this? So we've developed a number of work streams, and these are looking at things like design guidance to help people to design packaging fit for recyclability, understanding the markets and what those markets are. What are the sustainable end markets? Looking at the business case for some of these solutions and also making proof of principle, making sure it actually works. And also facilitating new and upcoming technologies as well as developing existing technologies so that we can get this and make this happen. And of course, the key thing throughout all of this is communication. We need to be communicating right through in the supply chain and outside of that supply chain as well. Every aspect of the value chain needs to be working together to come to these solutions. So why Mission Circular? When we look at the UN Sustainability Development Goals, there are 4 particular goals that Mission Circular links into. We know that we need to be looking at reducing the number of finite non-renewable resources that we're using, so we need to be consuming and producing responsibly. We need to be looking at the total impact. We need to look at climate change, reducing the environmental impact of packaging due to plastics. We need to be looking at marine litter and stopping the leakage into our environment and oceans, and looking at litter in general and understanding why that actually gets out there. And how are we going to be tackling that as Ceflex? Well, one of the things we're really looking at is resources. Flexible packaging uses significantly less resource than other packaging solutions. And when we look at it from a climate change point of view, flexible packaging often has a lower environmental impact than other packaging. But the thing is that this flexible packaging is going into the environment. So we need to find a solution for that as well. And that is about ensuring that we have a collection of flexible packaging. But who does decide what packaging is collected? Who decides how we get that back into the infrastructure and make it be recycled into something useful? And these are all the things that we are tackling in Ceflex. So let's look at the quantities of plastic packaging in the EU, and this is data from 2015 from AMI European Polymer. Now, what we're looking at is what packaging is in scope for Ceflex. When you look here, flexible consumer household packaging, which is 3.7 million tonnes per annum, is what's in scope for Ceflex. And this is made up of things such as LDP and LDPE, HDPE, PP, aluminium foil and paper. And then of course there's the other materials which are also important, such as things like nylon, paper laminates, PTPE and PTPP laminates, PEPP laminates and aluminium foil, as well as other materials. So this is what is within our scope, and this is what we're looking to tackle as part of Ceflex and make it into a circular economy by 2025. So what are the 5 steps to building a circular economy for flexible packaging? Well, we need to look at driving collection of all flexible packaging for sorting and recycling. And this is right across all of Europe. And this is a very, very important part of the process. Without this, we're not going to be able to move forward and make flexible packaging circular. We need to sort the suitable monomaterial fractions so that they're available to be recycled, whether this is your PEs, your aluminiums, your papers, your polypropylenes. We need to be able to actually sort those out and get those back so that we can actually use that valuable resource. We need to look at ways we can redesign multi-materials, particularly of the high barrier materials, which are very, very useful for certain applications. But what can we do and how can we recycle these, and what can we do about redesigning them to be recycled with monomaterials with the existing recycling streams, or what can we do to get these recycled in the future? And we also need to identify solutions to develop capabilities to sort, recycle the remaining fractions that I've just mentioned, those high barrier materials. This is very, very essential. We can't leave out those elements and multi-materials because they're really, really important in packaging. But of course, we need to make sure that there are end markets for all this recycled flexible packaging. Without that, then it's pointless as collecting, sorting and recycling these materials. And these 5 steps have been endorsed by the Ceflex stakeholders right through the packaging flexibles value chain, and understand that these are things that we need to do. So what needs to happen by 2025? So when we're looking at going from step 1 collections right through to step 5 sustainable end markets, we need to be running lots of work streams and work alongside to help make this happen. We need to look at bale harmonisation. We need to look at flexible packaging, market size and waste composition, and we're doing a compositional analysis study in the coming months. We're doing sorting and recycling trials, but they link into what we can do with these materials and the fact that we have the challenges of food contact. We need to look at new technologies for mono and multi-materials and redesigning the EPR system. This is really, really essential. And we need to be looking at the business cases that can make all of this happen in an EU single market for waste. So step 1 is driving collection of all flexible packaging for sorting and recycling. We have a consensus that we need to drive packaging in all EU countries and on the go, and it needs to be sorted and recycled, but we need to think about it from every aspect of the value chain. We need to map collection and sorting processes. We are mapping and looking at recycling practices and infrastructures in all EU countries. And we're also doing a compositional analysis study in 7 of the biggest markets for flexible packaging. We need to look at the overall cost and environmental impact models for collection of flexible packaging and make sure that it is viable not only economically but from an environmental point of view. So this is looking at the carbon impact, this is looking at climate change. But then also working with and identifying the EPR changes that are needed and the strategy changes that are needed with our brand owners and retailers and across the value chain to actually make this happen. So step 2 is sorting the suitable monomaterials fractions so that they're available to be recycled. So we have the design guidance, which is redesigned to mono, and this is started, and we have brand owners and retailers already committed to doing this for their whole flexible packaging portfolio. We want to look at people, retailers, brand owners and converters innovating and choosing to edit, to promote and develop and use more mono materials where it's suitable for the application. And recognising once materials are collected that there's no such thing as a mono stream in recycling, so that we need to take into account that there are these other multi-materials as well. And we also need to look at and understand of the implications on converting machinery of monomaterials, on extrusion equipment. All of these things have an impact right through the value chain, and this is what we are doing as part of this Ceflex initiative. Where we can, we're looking at redesigning multi-material flexibles to monomaterials where the recycling streams already exist. But we also need to understand the impact of the multi-materials on the quality of the recycler in the monomaterial streams, and where they should be sorted out, how we can design away from them, or how we can actually look at sorting them and doing something with them as well. And we're looking at how we can remove some of those disruptors which impact the overall packaging and recycling quality and other problematic materials. But we're also looking at identifying solutions and developing capabilities to sort and recycle these remaining fractions, which is essential for some high barrier applications. But first of all, it's resolving the potential disruptors in the monomaterial stream so that we can increase that particular quality throughout the value chain. This is a big project. There's lots and lots of aspects to look into, and we have a work stream dedicated to this, looking at testing and understanding these disruptors, understanding what we can sort, understanding what we can recycle, and then understanding that implication of when it goes through to the conversion as well. These are all essential steps in the process. We're then looking at the end markets, and understanding the end markets is such a relevant piece of work. If there isn't an end market to sell these materials into, then it's pointless us moving forward. So we need to understand how these end markets are going to use recycled materials. We need to understand if some of the implications, such as food contact and product safety. We need to look at the impact of mechanical recycling versus chemical recycling, and we need to look at fast tracking the approval process to using these recycled materials and looking at how we can do that via pilot and industrial trials. How can we make this happen as quickly as possible? So the short term is looking at the end markets for recyclable flexible packaging materials, and these have to be progressed alongside steps 1, 2 and 3 and 4 that we've already discussed. All of this has to happen at the same time. So we're starting now, and we know that developing new end markets is difficult, and we know it takes a lot of time. We need to focus on the potential end markets, mapping size and quality, including packaging and non-packaging applications for recycled materials. And this is really important. We do need to see what is happening. We do need to say, actually, we have got to look at non-packaging applications, not just packaging applications. And yes, this might not make it circular back into the same item, but it is taking it back into a useful product, and we need to always keep that in our mind. It can't always go back into its product, particularly when we think of food contact. The end market opportunities need to be proven so that the recyclers are ready to invest and develop their capabilities. And where, as I've mentioned, the recycled materials are being used in packaging, we need to understand the regulatory implications and the consequences for existing packaging, converting and machinery. And economics, which is likely through our EPR system, are key to making these end markets sustainable. We're taking learnings from what's happened with other recycled materials on rigids to ensure that we are hopefully and not going to make the same mistakes and make this a sustainable, economical model going forward. Medium to long term, it's looking again at the end markets for all the recycled flexibles, but progressing this is again in parallel to steps 1, 2 and 3, looking at mechanical recycling versus chemical recycling. And we know that chemical recycling, there's some way to go. that we are looking at pilot plants. So we have got to look at mechanical recycling and understanding the end market implications through that as well. But we also know that those end market applications for mechanical recycling can't satisfy some of the things like food contact, and we have got to look at further investigation, further trials to make sure that we have a number of different options for these materials. We're also looking at the raw material producers to take more ownership for developing the required processing capability and capacity for post-consumer PE and PVP materials suitable for food contact applications. As you can imagine, this is a minefield and there's so many things to consider, and we need to be looking at all sorts of technologies, including things like digital barcoding, to see how we can sort out food contact materials from non-food contact materials and how we can actually get sustainable work streams within the recycling sector to take these materials going forward. And then the medium to long term is about making these end markets sustainable. We need mechanical recycling, and looking at the conclusions to this, we think that due to more favourable economic and environmental impacts, mechanical recycling should be preferred over alternative forms of material recycling. But we do need significant additional capacity to make flexible packaging circular. There's hardly anybody actually recycles flexible packaging at this moment in time across Europe, and we do need more of this. And this new capacity has to be able to deliver all of those relevant qualities and quantities for the target end markets, which includes things such as food contact, about the way it can run on machines so that we're not losing performance. All of this is really, really essential. And then chemical recycling it's a potential pathway for food contact and to give basically almost a new virgin material quality for recycled PE and PP. However, chemical recycling is unlikely to be commercial at scale by 2025, so this means we need to better understand the opportunities, costs and impacts to mechanical recycling, and together with plastic sector as a whole, right through the value chain, we need to identify and remove hurdles to commercialise chemical recycling as well. The other big area that we are looking at is how we redesign the extended producer responsibility for circular plastics. Now, we know it's widely used throughout the world as a tool vehicle to help implement, manage and fund the collection and sorting of product and packaging materials when they become waste. Now, we also know in most instances the system is designed to help meet recycling targets at minimum cost to the producers, but we need it to be redesigned. The EPR system is not currently designed to deliver circular materials, where packaging is collected, sorted, recycled and returned to the economy. And this is why the EPR system needs to be redesigned, and it's why we're in conversations and discussions to do this. So why is EPR so very important? EPR determines what materials are made available for recycling, and also what quantities and qualities. It's EPR that creates a level playing field for all companies putting packaging onto the market, and it provides guarantees needed for long-term investment in the recycling and sorting infrastructures. Basically, EPR is what makes the collection, sorting and recycling steps economically viable. But without the EPR or packaging taxes, it will likely not be economically viable to collect and sort most packaging, even glass, paper and metals in Europe. It needs fundamental change, and we're in the conversations to look at that change. And we have to remember as well, a lot of packaging taxes tend to disappear into the various countries' budgets. And what we really need to do is see that money being reinvested back into improving recycling infrastructure. So going back to what needs to happen by 2025. So step 1 is collection, going to step 5, sustainable end markets. We've got a lot to do. The design guidelines for phase 1 will be coming out in the coming months, and phase 2, which is looking at the more complex structures such as PET, PA laminates and the things such as EVOH and PVDC are all going to get investigated. Also the impact of inks and adhesives. The bale harmonisation is going to be key, and we're doing further investigations and research into bale harmonisation. We really need to understand the flexible packaging market size and waste composition.
Okay, look, we have to end it there. You have been an amazingly patient audience sitting there listening to it, because I know it is really hard watching a video and somewhere on there. It just explains why live music is better than listening to it on albums, doesn't it? For us of a certain era. But so in absence, let's thank Haulwen, because I could not sit in front of a microphone at home and do that without giggling. So brilliant. Well done, Haulwen. Thank you.